It's good.
Starts, okay.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Hey, at least it's turned up. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Chamber Luncheon. We have a lot on our schedule today. To be honest, I think I've been told 3 times already to keep my part short because you guys want to hear the honorees today. So I get that. So welcome to the Chamber Luncheon. We greatly appreciate it. We have a great lineup for our Circle of Champions. Be sure to come back tonight. Obviously, we have the Expo tonight. It is from 4 to 7. So please make sure to check it out. A lot of, I think we have what, Dale, 64 booths, 60, somewhere in there. So it's huge. Please do check it out. With that, for our presenting sponsor, today we have, I'm gonna try not to mess up the acronym, DAP, CPA, Pope and Jackson Incorporated. David Pope will come up here in a second. And before he comes up real quick, I just wanted to mention they are celebrating their 25th year anniversary. So with that, give them a round of applause. All right, here you go.
Welcome, everybody, to Business Week. As Steve said, this is our 25th anniversary in business, and we have enjoyed almost every step of the way. But as an accounting firm, when we started with the idea that we wanted to provide excellent service for all of our clients, provide a stable business for the community, and provide a great career for our employees. I think we have succeeded in almost every step of the way and almost every way in doing all of that. I'm very proud of the business that we have built, and I'm very thankful to this community for welcoming us. And particularly, and I'm going to keep this really short because I didn't prepare anything, but I particularly want to thank the employees and the team members that have worked with us throughout the years. They have been wonderful. They under some very, very tough circumstances. As accountants, we live 9 months out of the year at the office pretty much. And they have been incredible in that. I can't tell you how much all of our success has been dependent upon every team member that we have had. So I'd like to thank everyone at the table there and everyone that has gone before. So thank you. Welcome to Business Week, where we're driving your business forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, David. I'd also like to recognize our other sponsors for today. We have 3 sections, and so with that, our gold sponsors, Traders Publishing, iHeartMedia. Then our silver sponsors today are Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming, Blue Federal Credit Union, Halliday Motors Incorporated, MHP, SCORE, from the Cheyenne branch, the UniWyo Federal Credit Union, KFBC, and Visit Cheyenne. And for our bronze sponsors, we have the LCCC Foundation, Carpet One Floor and Home, Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, Capital Roofing, Cherry Creek Mortgage Company, Express Employment Professionals, High West Digital Solutions, LCCC, Magic City Enterprises, Walmart store number 4653, the Wyoming Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, Clean Clinic, and Remax Capital Properties. Give all of our sponsors a round of applause. As we know, our sponsors are what make the lunch possible, but also part of that is our new members as well. So I'd like to invite Jess from Blue Federal Credit Union for our red carpet committee to come forward and welcome our new members.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Jesse. I'm with business banker with Blue Federal Credit Union. If you couldn't tell by my attire, I did dress myself this morning. I would like to tell you the why of what I do and why I'm in business banking. And it lies in the story of my wooden bow tie. My friend started this company in 2012 in their garage with $25,000 from family after receiving multiple rejections from financial institutions. With hard work and dedication to craft, they premiered on Shark Tank in October of 2015. They started with only a handful of employees, and I'm happy to report as of August of 2021, they employ over 50 employees and are estimated to hit $3.5 million in revenues. That's why I'm a business banker at Blue Federal Credit Union. At Blue, we discover pathways to realize your possibilities. Because of this, it is my honor to introduce our newest chamber members. First off, we have Cheyenne SCORE Chapter 0679. At SCORE, it is their mission to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. They focus on strengthening tech competitiveness of small businesses across the country through coordination of the small business innovation research and small business technology transfer programs, keeping small businesses on the cutting edge of the next generation research and development. They work to increase the use of small businesses to meet federal research and development needs, to foster and encourage participation by minority and disadvantaged persons in technology innovation and commercializing results from the research. Welcome, Yusuf Mohammed and Cheyenne SCORE. Next up, we have Brian Kozak for sheriff. Brian Kozak, longest serving police chief in Cheyenne, is running for sheriff. Brian has a bachelor's degree in business and a master's degree in secondary education with 35 years of policing and jail management experience. Brian wants to reconnect with the sheriff's office with businesses, the business community, invest in hardworking employees, and restructure jail operations so it's part of a team to reduce crime. Brian was the guy behind the PD's fun Facebook page, so be sure to follow his campaign, Brian Kozak for Sheriff page, where there will be many funny videos coming soon. Check out his website at briankozak.com and register to win an AR-15 Glock or other prizes to see him now for tickets. Please welcome Brian Kozak and Jack Schultz, campaign manager. Next up, we have Real Simple Housing, Wyoming. Real Simple Housing is a statewide program focused on helping working people with their real estate needs. Our team has over 25 years of real estate experience in both lending and sales side of business. Our team is here to serve our clients with overlapping service, deliver, and has a call center to assist with prodding sellers and buyers with solutions. We are a volume-based program focused on providing the best product for the right price. We are members of multiple MLS systems. We are online marketing through targeted Google ads and Facebook posts, professional photographs, 3D virtual tours, and dedicated websites. Please welcome Shanae Martin, Michaela Seberg with Real Simple Housing, Wyoming. Next up, we have the Electric and Solar Specialists. The Electric and Solar Specialist is a local union and full range electrical contractor based here in Cheyenne. They specialize in new home builds, LED retrofits, home backup storage, commercial lighting, and custom designed solar systems. Please welcome Ben Ball and Travis Spears with Electric and Solar Specialists. And last but not least, Home on the Range Cheyenne is a new gift store in Cheyenne that features gifts, home decor, seasonal items, along with a work area for classes. They teach the community how to use Dixie Belle chalk, mineral paints, and products to renew furniture and make decor items look new. Welcome, Gracie Marski and Larry Marski.
All right. All right. Are we still on? All right. October is the month that we look forward to the future. We elect new leadership for the Chamber of Commerce. So as chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, I now declare that the 2022 membership meeting for the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce open. Today, we have one item on the agenda, the election of the new board members. The board goes through kind of a whole process for nominating this slate. And so today, as part of the business structure, we're going to be opening that and presenting it. The current slate for consideration for the nominees for the 2022 Chamber Board of Directors are Katie Brown of Woodhouse, Roden, Nethercott, Sam Galliotis with the Met and CEO of Lenovi, Dave Pope with DAP CPA, Jim Casey with Halliday Motors, and Joe Schaefer with LCCC. So as per the bylaws, we do normally ask for if there are any nominations from the floor. I would mention the Chamber Board does go through a nomination process. We actually convened a number of you actually through this process as well. But I am asking if there were any nominations from the floor. All right, the pay is that great, I promise. So there you go. All right, hearing no other nominations, we are closing that part. You will actually see, so following today's luncheon, the primary listed on each membership will be emailed the link to vote. The voting closes on October 8th at 5 p.m. So please keep a lookout for that and please make sure you do vote for that. With that, we'll invite Dale Steenbergen up to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I got to tell you, this is my favorite event that we do at the Chamber all year long. And, you know, it's just part of our idea of servant leadership and how we serve our community, how you as our members serve our community. And today is a day that we actually stop for a minute and think about that and celebrate some of the greatness in our community. Today, I can't think of a better couple to receive our honor today than Jim and Peggy Hearn. You know, when I think back about my chairman, I see a lot of them here today. I see Stephanie Tubner over there, Ron Van Vost. I'm glad you came out of retirement, Ron, for a day to come join us. He's very busy fishing with, but he's doing it for a cause, right? Which these great leaders do, right? So taking our wounded vets out and going fly fishing with them. So appreciate that. I see Linda Wepner here, but people who have been transitional to this organization, and certainly Jim there is no one that's been more transitional than him. So I am looking forward to hearing from him today. You know, we have, I see Tim Ioannidis here. He was our honoree last year. You know, here's what makes life great. You know, I saw Tim yesterday, saw him again today. And, you know, of course, Jim Casey is in transition with Halliday's for that and doing a great job leading that forward. But both of those guys, when I run into them, you ask them how they're doing and what do they tell you? I'm very blessed, right? So we all know there's supply chain issues and inflation and all the issues out there. And what do they tell me? We're very blessed. And right, we truly are blessed, Cheyenne. And for us to keep a view of that moving forward is important for all of us. So thank you guys. Tim, so good to see you here. I'm glad that you can be a part of and join us today. So just a couple of things from the chamber. One is that, of course, the Business to Business Expo is today from 4 to 7. Do business with your fellow business people. This is a way to get to know what they have. And for you to be a part of that community, this is how we will be successful, is lifting up and helping our neighbors. Our economic forecast breakfast is coming up. I'm a little bit scared of that one, right? We got a lot of things going on in the economy, but we are very lucky to come this year and help us with that economic forecast breakfast, as well as Ann Alexander from UW. So it should be a very good presentation. That's on the 15th, I believe, at the Blue Center. What a beautiful facility you guys have. So it should be a great event. I hope you join us. We also have a lunch and learn coming up to talk about housing is really a issue in the community, if you hadn't noticed. And so I know that will be a good discussion with some of our folks who are working very diligently on our housing problems. This event and all the business month events are brought to us by our Chamber Business Council, and they really meet all year, talk about a lot of issues important to us. So if you're on the Chamber Business Council, I know there are a couple of you out there. Would you please stand up and be recognized? Couple of things you need to be aware of. So the Christmas, man, that mic is really giving problems. The Christmas parade is coming up, so there's going to, please buy poinsettias. Some of you need to buy poinsettias. You haven't been very nice to your wife lately. I'm looking at the mayor because I know he has a wonderful wife, and I wonder how he's been treated. But this is an opportunity to buy her a poinsettia and eat your crow. 2, he says 2. Take an example from the mayor and buy 2. You might never know how far that will get you. My wife's here somewhere. She might be piping up. She's counting, like losing fingers already, 10, 11, anyway. So we need volunteers for the Christmas parade. It's a great opportunity for you to do some team building with your office on that Saturday after Thanksgiving. All you really have to do is hold the corner so you can watch the parade with them. And that gives us a big help. We cannot do this without volunteers. And they do demand that we have a certain number. So you don't want to be the reason that Santa Claus doesn't come. We're going to send them to your door. In December, we have our Women's Leadership Award, a wonderful, wonderful thing that we do to recognize servant leaders who are women in our community that are great business leaders as well. So please put some thought into that and think about who are we missing? Who do we need to recognize for that hard work? Please spend a moment, fill out that application, and let us be able to recognize those deserving individuals in our community. So October is the month that we go to DC. When we started this, we were the only state in the union that did not do a business trip to DC. And when we started out, I think there were like 3 of us, right? And I'm proud to report this year, by the time we get finished, we are going to have 30 people. And this is the largest group we've ever taken. And folks, it makes a difference, because when we're not there speaking to our elected officials, guess what? The guys from Minot, North Dakota, who would like to be first off on GBSD, they are there, right? So it's important that we are there and we are heard. So I appreciate all those people who are willing to go with us and carry the issues and the initiatives that we have to Cheyenne, not only to our elected officials, but also elected officials from across this country. All right, free lunch drawing. Tom Bass from Wyoming Bank and Trust. So there is $203 in the half pot today. So David, if you do their accounting, I'm sure you will make sure you have a record, correct? You know, David, every time he mentions accounting, he always says, I enjoyed serving this community. I remember accounting from college. Enjoy is not a word I would use to remember those classes. And I'm pretty sure my teacher would not use that word to say they remembered me either. All right, 9607526. 9607526. That was money that the accountant never would have caught too, but that was Stephanie Tubner from Blue. And thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate. Oh, what? It was- Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Michelle. All right, at this time, I'd like to turn it back over to your chairman, Stephen Leapgreen, who is well paid for his position at the chair.
This is why we need David on the board to figure out that, hey, where it's going. Jeez. All right. Sorry, not on the right page. All right. My job's pretty easy right now. I believe I'm getting Jess Ryan up to the stage. Jess Ryan, please come and join us.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad Dale didn't have to introduce me. Give him a break. So today I'm here as the Business Council Chair, and it's a celebration of business in Cheyenne. Thank you all for being here. One of our favorite events every year has been the Circle of Champions. It has been inspiring to hear from all the different Circle of Champions honorees in the past. Our interview this year will be conducted by Dr. Joe Schaefer, the president of LCCC. Joe, we are appreciative that you have volunteered your time to help with this very worthwhile project. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce this year's honorees. Jim and Peggy Hearn represent the best of Cheyenne. Dale said, and I quote, "Jim Hearn was one of the best chairmen the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce has ever had. Without his leadership and guidance, the chamber would not be the financially sound, forward-leaning organization that it is today. Honestly, it was a 2-for-1 deal, as Peggy did so many things to facilitate our efforts while Jim was chair. It is humbling to have the honor to interact with folks that give everything to their community," end quote. Certainly, their contributions go far beyond just the chamber, as they have touched every corner of our wonderful community. Prepare to be inspired and enthused as we welcome the 2021 Circle of Champions honorees, Jim and Peggy Hearn.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Who doesn't love fall? Everybody loves fall, right? Colors are changing. It's beautiful outside. Cowboy football back in season, right? Some of us who like to tromp through the mountains chasing those helpless brown furry things. But honestly, the best thing about fall really is today. It's the opportunity to recognize individuals as we induct the newest members to the Chamber of Commerce's Circle of Champions. And it is a true pleasure to be here with Jim and Peggy Hearn and spend this time on stage with both of you. So this has to feel fantastic. Tell me, what are you feeling?
Overwhelmed, flattered and humbled, I'll tell you.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say we're very honored to be inducted into the Circle of Champions, but we're also terribly humbled by the time you take a look around at the past people that have been inducted into this circle and the stories and the lives that they have led. There's so many great people in this generous community of ours, and I emphasize that part, generous, because this community supports so many things and does it so well. And so there are great people out there that don't get enough recognition as they should have. And we have to share this honor, I think, with all of our supporters that are out there in the community, and especially some of the supporters that are here with us today. My gosh, what a turnout. And as Dale says, what a Chamber of Commerce day. It's just beautiful out there. You drive up and that flag's just sitting there. No wind. It's great. But we're looking forward to sharing with you, and you have to excuse some of the notes because man, in the last few weeks, things have gone through my head that I haven't thought about in a long time. And I don't want to get too sidetracked with it, so we'll try to stay on course, and Dr. Schaefer will probably help us do that. So.
We'll do our best. Well, congratulations again to both of you. So today we're celebrating your contributions and achievements individually and as a couple. We know that success is often a result of the history and influence of your family and those around you. So why don't we start our discussion there from that beginning? Tell us about where you are from and how your upbringing shaped who you are today. How did you end up in Wyoming?
My grandfather actually was born in Ireland, grew up in England, and took the opportunity to come from England to the United States for a better opportunity here in this country. He came directly from England to Hannah, Wyoming, to the coal mines of Hannah, Wyoming. And he was so grateful to be here because the mining operation in Hannah allowed him to stand up and mine instead of crawling on his hands and knees. So that was kind of the situation that happened there. He came alone at that time, got himself established, saved up some money, and then sent back to England for his wife and 2 sons. And of course, one of those sons was my father. So it all kind of began that way. And my mom and dad grew up in Hannah, Wyoming, and went all the way through high school, didn't quite have the opportunity to go to college. And I'll talk about it later, the importance of education that they saw. My dad later became the manager of the Union Pacific store. The Union Pacific owned Hannah. They owned the town, they owned the mine, they owned the houses, they owned the store. They basically controlled just about everything that went on there.
Peggy, how about you?
Well, I'm a second generation American, I guess. My grandfather Tobin and his wife Margaret came straight from County Cork, Ireland in the early 1900s. They weren't married at the time, but were shortly thereafter. And he was a sheep rancher with his brother in Natrona County, and then opened his own sheep ranch in near Midwest. So then they finally established their forever home in Casper. My Studer maternal grandparents came to Casper from Excelsior, Minnesota. And my mom at the time was a senior in high school and finished her high school years at NCHS. I think that both of those families were extremely involved with their families and the parish church at St. Anthony's, and really let us know that faith and family and friends and community were really the most important. So it was really, we knew we were from Wyoming and where our roots were, even though we grew up in Denver.
So expand on that, Peggy. So
Yeah, the city girl comes out in me. My dad was a physician and he practiced in Denver. And we got to enjoy all the privileges of the big city. My dad and mom were both full of isms. My dad was famous for saying, you know, you die, you live to die. And you look at him and say, yeah. He says, just make sure you're ready to go to heaven. My mother would often say when we were bickering with each other, you know, you don't have to like them, but don't ever forget you have to love them. And so being the oldest of 7 children, we had a full life and a good time. I went to the Catholic school in Denver, K through 12, and then was off to the University of Wyoming for nursing school.
well, Jim, Peggy's from the big city of Denver. You were born in the big city of Hannah.
That's true. The huge city of Hannah.
The huge city of Hannah,
Yeah.
but really feel like you grew up in Laramie. Tell us about your youth
Yeah,
and
I
growing up.
was born in Hannah, as you said, and lived in Hannah till I was about 4 years old when the mine closed down in Hannah. And at that time, my dad had an opportunity for jobs in Rollins or Laramie. And I'm very grateful for many reasons that he chose Laramie. Much easier to go to the university than it was to the prison, that's for darn sure. But we have seven children in my family as well. But I'm not the oldest, I'm the middle child in ours. So I have 3 older and 3 younger. I attended St. Lawrence School in Laramie from grades 1 through 9. And I say I walked to school every day for 9 years. But I have to say it was only 1 block. Coming from a strong Catholic family and also being taught by the nuns for 9 years really instilled that faith in me, and also some very important values of life that I carry forward today. Family was one of those, and family was always important to us. May not have had a lot growing up, but we had family, and we never knew the difference. We had many, many family celebrations of birthdays, holidays, and Sunday dinners were pretty tremendous. My grandparents were about 3 or 4 houses down from us, and so every Sunday was Sunday dinner at our house. Continued on then to my education in Laramie High School. Graduated from Laramie High School and then went on to the University of Wyoming. Like I say, it was definitely affordable because you could live at home and go to the university. And back then it was not that expensive when you look at it today as to how that went.
Great. Well, Peggy, you also went to Laramie. So why don't you tell us about how you met while you were at UW?
There's lots of ways that I could describe how that happened.
The real way would be good.
Nobody knows the truth, you know.
The bottom line is that we were both part of the Nominees Club, which is the Catholic Center at the University campus. We were part of the same circle of friends. And one evening, Jim decided to come to a meeting, and in his pocket was a pet white rat. And I think he did that just to see who in the world he could, who would react to that the best. Father Taylor was not impressed. But I was. So after a little coaxing and a couple of tries, we finally started going out and have enjoyed each other ever since.
Now, Peggy, as I understand it, your aunt at the time held a pretty important position at the university and prided herself on knowing all that was going on, but she maybe wasn't aware of yours and Jim's courting or not. So why don't you tell us a little?
Yeah, that's very true. Peggy's aunt, Peggy Tobin, was Associate Dean of Students at the University of Wyoming, and my sister, Charlotte Davis, was also an Associate Dean of Students. And they kind of prided themselves on knowing everything that was going on campus, no matter what or where. And they didn't know we were going out. And I think they were just flabbergasted when they found out that the 2 of us were actually going out and dating, because they thought they knew everything. And this one kind of slipped past.
And we were quite proud of that as well.
I can imagine. Well, Peggy, let's shift. So I know your life involved raising a family and supporting Jim in a lot of his business efforts, but I was very interested to learn about your successful career, specifically in the medical field. So you were a nurse. Why don't you tell us about your work over the years as a nurse and specifically in the medical field?
Well, first of all, I have to say that compared to the ambitious and hardworking nurses and healthcare givers, particularly in this community, the work I did was a mere drop in the bucket. But I love nursing, and I really enjoyed every place I was able to work. Our family was very young, and so office nursing in the hours worked the best for my schedule. I spent 5 or 6 years working part-time at the children's clinic. At that time, it was just Dr. Hecker, Dr. Williams, and Dr. Prentice had hardly been there for any time at all. It's grown and changed quite a bit since. But I learned and loved so much about children and working with your peers. From there, I had an opportunity to be the first RN at the new University of Wyoming Family Practice Residency Program. And that was the first time I really worked full-time. It was a challenge in every way. I was used to babies. These were whole families. I helped set up the rooms and the drawers. And they even had me putting together, seriously, the scales that were in each room. I made friends, particularly Dr. Amy Gruber was the first and only woman of the first class of in common besides our medical backgrounds. So we got to be very good friends. And when I left family practice, it was, or the residency program, it was to help Amy set up her new practice in Cheyenne in 1972. Later that year, she and another resident, Dr. Jim Johnson, were married, and they chose our family room for the site of their wedding. It was pretty nice for all of us. I've stayed in touch with Amy since then, and it's been a great friendship. Shortly after that, I was needed to be home and wanted to be home. And so I took what I called my sabbatical. It was just a nice word for time at home, being a mom. But I also had the chance to help at holidays at Underwood Florists, and had a couple of years to participate on the staff of the Wyoming Senate, which was also another great learning experience. About the time Chris was able to, ready to graduate from high school, and Jim was starting his new practice, I decided I really wanted to get my nursing license back and went for a nursing refresher course. And after that, I worked as needed for Dr. Gruber and Dr. Shield at family practice, and was also able to help Health Reach with flu shots. And where was I? Oh, and then I decided I would take the parish nursing course, and was helping with the parish nursing at St. Mary's Cathedral for several years. And when Jim retired, I decided maybe I would do that too.
Great. Thank you, Peggy. I just think that's so wonderful of the story, both your contributions to the community, and I bet there's probably a handful of folks out here who went through those pediatric offices and maybe still have that relationship there, but we appreciate your service and all you've done to really prop up some of the hallmarks of our medical community. So thank you for that. Jim, so most of us know you as an incredibly successful certified public accountant in the exciting field of accountancy, accountant. But early on, you were more interested in working cattle than calculating numbers, right? Why don't you tell us about your love of ranching? And
Yeah, I was. My mom's sister married into a pioneer ranching family that goes back to the mid to late 1800s. And my aunt and uncle operated a cattle ranch in northern Albany County. And when I was 5 years old, I asked them to take me back out to the ranch for the summer. I knew that my brothers and sisters, older brothers and sisters, had spent some time on the ranch. And I thought, it's about time for me to do that. My aunt and uncle agreed, but my aunt told my mom, don't be surprised if we're back in the middle of the night bringing him home. That never actually happened. I enjoyed the ranch, and I never went back. I spent my summers from 5 years old all the way through college on that ranch. Working the ranch taught me just a whole lot of things. When you're 45 miles of gravel road from anywhere and 2 hours from Laramie, Wheatland, or Douglas, you learn to be pretty self-sufficient. You learn how to build a lot of things. You learn how to fix a lot of things. And you learn how to really work together with the people that you have available on the ranch. But it also taught me about community, because those ranchers out there, whenever they needed help with the branding or rounding cattle up or doing anything else, they were there to help. So it was a great sense of community as well in that whole process. But it also gave me a pretty good work ethic too, and self-motivation. There's nobody else out there to motivate you or to get you going or anything else other than my aunt and uncle. And they did a great job of that. And through that, I developed a great love for ranching and the cowboy way and the outdoors. And so that really kind of was ingrained in my blood as well. My uncle suffered a stroke about 2 years before I graduated from college. And I kind of made the decision at that point in time that I was going to go back to the ranch and help my aunt run the ranch after I graduated from college. My aunt and uncle didn't have any children. And when my aunt passed away, my brother and I inherited the ranch. And I made a promise to my aunt that we would run the ranch as a cattle ranch for several years at least. And we've done that, and we still continue to operate that ranch today.
So obviously your career went in another direction for a while. And for those of us who have benefited from MHP's expertise, we are incredibly grateful that it did. But tell us about how you became a CPA and what path led you there.
Sure. The Board of CPAs allowed the seniors in college to take the CPA exam, and it was always given twice a year, once in May and once in November. And the May exam was always in Laramie. So it was a great time coming right out of school, having the information all fresh in your mind to do it. So I took the CPA exam really kind of for the experience of it, and not with the intention of actually using it. My intention was to go to the ranch. But the paper and pencil exam was a 4-part, 2-day test. And it was kind of incredibly intense and a little bit different than the process that people go through today. You take it in May, but the results aren't released until August. And so it took a long time to finally get to that point where you knew what had happened. And I found out I passed 3 out of the 4 parts of the exam. So it kind of made me rethink, maybe I ought to do something with this. Maybe I ought to look at a career in accounting. So I decided actually to pursue a job in accounting. One of my friends, better friends out of college, we always teased our firm would have 3 Jims in it, 3 Jim, and Ed. So that was the 4 of us. One of the Jims went to work for McGladrey. And I really wanted to stay in Wyoming, of course, because of the ranch. I wanted to be somewhat near the ranch. And I wanted to really practice accounting as I thought it should be practiced, and that's being able to offer a full range of services. And McGladrey really fit that. So I arranged to get an interview with McGladrey. I interviewed with one of the partners in the morning, and he said, come back in the afternoon and we'll talk some more. So Peggy was with me. We went to lunch, came back in the afternoon, and I walked away with a job. So it was pretty darn fast and pretty darn incredible. It was also kind of fortunate that at that point in time, they had just merged with McGladrey. So the local firm, Rabroush and Gaiman, had been around for a long time. Had some other regional offices, but the main ship was here in Cheyenne. They had a great reputation, but a lot of the partners really didn't want to change. They didn't want to look at things. And so it created a great opportunity for some of us to interact with the people at McGladrey and to learn those systems. And it really helped us a lot because we learned the audit approach from the ground up. And so it came natural to us after a while. I took the 4th part of the CPA exam in November and found out in February that I had passed that part of the exam as well. But at that part, they wouldn't issue a certificate until you had 3 years of experience. But then all of a sudden they came along and changed the law, passed it so that you could get it with 1 year of experience. And so in July of 1975, I finally got my certificate. It was number 314. So I was the 314th CPA in the state of Wyoming. I was a little disappointed because I thought it should be a lower number than that because so many people had snuck in with this 1 year of experience, but I almost made it to that three-year mark.
So Jim, maybe take some time to tell some of your big clients early on in your career, and you had some other interesting things happen during your time, such as another acquisition. But tell some of your story, some of the big clients you served, and maybe just some of the most memorable aspects of your early time in your job.
Yeah, my first year, I didn't kind of realize it at the time, but it was a great experience. I spent 5 weeks from mid-January to mid-April in Lusk, Wyoming, doing tax returns. E.O. Davis, my mentor, had that practice in Lusk, Newcastle, and Rapid City. So it was his responsibility to go up and do that. We went up to a motel room, set up shop, and did tax returns by hand in pencil, definitely, so that they could be changed, and no computers, no anything else. Great learning experience because I got to meet some clients. I got to learn how to organize records. I got to spread checks, if anybody knows what that is, about classifying all of the expenses and everything, because some of those ranchers just came in with a box and said, here it is, you figure it out. So my background in ranching came in handy with that as well, because we did several farm and ranch clients and ag people. But one of the most important things I learned was how to cool down the beer and make sure the beer was nice and cold and ready by 7 o'clock. And that's 7 p.m., not a.m., by the way. But I've been fortunate to work and be involved and be around some very, very talented people and have the resources surrounding you to be able to do about anything that the clients want and that they ask. And you have to step back and take a look and say how fortunate I was to be able to work with those kind of professional people and those kind of people that were dedicated to the practice. But in those days, when I was coming up, it was either up or out. And so either you went up pretty fast or you were out. Today, it's a little different about putting in your time and spending your time before you become a partner. But I was fortunate enough to do that. I made manager in 4 years and partner in 6 years. Not sure I was ready to be a partner, but I actually had the title. I eventually became partner in charge of the Cheyenne office and then the regional managing partner for the Rocky Mountain Economic Unit. And that included Casper, Sterling, Denver, and Cheyenne. And as a regional managing partner, I was part of the firm-wide management team. And we met several times a year in Chicago to go over firm business and take care of things. But in 1999, it kind of became a critical time period for McGladrey, and they wanted to expand and they needed some capital to expand. So the business was sold to H&R Block. And for some of us, that was a little bit different. So we weren't used to being involved with large corporate cultures. And we were pretty much used to being partners in about 400 partners at that point in time, but still being able to operate pretty much as we wanted to. And we were the mothership in Cheyenne. So that kind of tells you just a little bit about the presence that we had in Denver. And we found out that Denver really wasn't high on their list as far as expansion markets and where they wanted to go. So in 2000, the Cheyenne partners decided we were going to negotiate and buy the Cheyenne office. So we set off to do that, and we thought we made them a pretty good offer. But in no way did they want anybody to defect or leave in that process. And Mike McGee and I were doing the negotiations with the higher ups in McGladrey. And finally it came down to, well, guys, why don't you come pick up the keys? Because we're not going to show up on Monday. So at that point, it got a little more serious. And they decided maybe they ought to reconsider our offer, and we negotiated and came to an agreement. So in September of 2000, we formed McGee, Hearn & Pies LLP. And we definitely wanted to keep the talent pool together. So at that point in time, there were 6 partners, and we offered our 3 managers partnership to keep the team together, keep everybody intact and moving forward. The managers accepted, and away we were. But after so many years with McGladrey, I'd kind of forgotten about our college days and our teasing about a couple of terms, the BMD and the NOD. And we decided definitely you had arrived if you had a BMD, big mahogany desk. And NOD if you had your name on the door. So I never imagined ever after almost 28 years with McGladrey that I'd ever see my name up there. It was always going to be McGladrey. But we did have some very large clients. And we were not sure how those clients were going to react, or how all of our clients were going to react when we formed the firm when we were leaving. So we had to ask our clients, well, we first of all explained it to our employees what we were doing and everything, and they were all on board. So they were ready to go. So next step was to announce it to the clients. And many of them said, well, are you all going to be there? Are you going to provide the same service and have all the services you provided in the past? And are you going to have the resources to service us? And we were kind of nervous about some of them. Maybe that name on their audit report from a bigger firm meant something to them, or maybe that name on the tax return meant something to them. But you know, we didn't lose one client out of that whole thing. And that just really taught us that trust and personal relationships really meant everything. So it's pretty incredible, I think, to be able to pull that off and to make that kind of transition.
And Jim, that's one of the things I think that's so impressive about your story. So 25 years with McGladrey, certainly successful working up. You successfully worked out the deal to leave, incorporated McGehern and Pies MHP in 2000. And doing so, your successful transition, not losing a client, keeping the employee. I mean, that to me, that is incredibly impressive. There had to be great pressure on you. I mean, you guys took big risks in doing that, and yet you somehow made that transition, and certainly the rest is history. So tell us, what are the principles? What are the things that you did to manage the risks and really make that transition so smooth?
Well, it was a risk, that's for sure. Peggy went back and got her nursing license back. We were pretty confident everything was going to work out, but at the same time, you never know when you venture off and do something like that. But with the 9 of us and the resources, we actually joined the McGladrey network, and so that provided us all with all of the resources of McGladrey. We didn't have to pay for them every day, but we did pay for them when we wanted them and when we needed them, and that was important. Going to the bank, that was a little scary as well, putting your name on the bottom line of a loan. And it was a pretty good sized number for us. And Joe Pies, Mike and I were required to guarantee the loan. And so really the younger partners were a little bit off the hook, but we still had them on the hook pretty well with what was going on. But we put our heads down and went to work. And with the great people we had and the great clients we had, it was a big responsibility to take care of 45 people, which is about where we were at that point in time. But we never missed a payroll. We paid all of our creditors, vendors, and the bank. And from there on, it was just up.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So Jim, you were managing partner for 15 years, and then you retired in 2015. Reflect upon that time frame. How has MHP grown and changed since its beginning?
As I said, when we left, we were about 45 people. And when I retired, we were at about 80. So we had a tremendous amount of growth over that 15-year period of time, both in people and in revenue. So it was just incredible.
So let's shift gears a little bit and change topics. One of the themes that we see with the inductees into the Circle of Champions is they're successful and certainly invested in the business aspects of our community, but they have this deep commitment to service, volunteerism, and being part of the community. You alluded to that just being in your blood with the ranch upbringing a little bit, but your collective lists of civic engagement are some of the most extensive and impressive that I have ever seen. So Peggy, why don't we start with you and share with the audience just some of the groups you've been involved with over the years and maybe a memorable story or two, because I understand you have a couple of those.
Yeah, I wasn't one to sit around too much. I like to be involved and I enjoy people. So at first I was working very closely with Wyoming Nurses Association, and their primary office was in Seminole, Reservoir area. So a group of us got together and convinced the state board that that office needed to be in Cheyenne. So we found an office space and established the Wyoming Nurses Association primary location in downtown Cheyenne. I actively campaigned and found that space. Then I was able to join Women's Civic League in 1993. It was an honor to be able to share the Christmas house. It was our 25th Christmas house at the home of Larry and Frida Shippey. It was a fun experience. St. Mary's Cathedral Grove was a part of my life for many, many years. When Chris was a preschooler, he would come with me to join the girls in the kitchen. Well, all of them were much older women, but he loved their chicken and noodles, and they really enjoyed him. I was president of the Guild for a couple of years in the 1980s. During this time, we also were involved with Frontier Days. I learned that I had a few people skills and that I could guide and lead. But at that point, Chris was 5 and the big kids were in junior high. So things at home were, well, Chris was a newborn and the kids were in junior high. So things at home were pretty busy. And one of the best lessons I learned was to, I tried to empower these women to be as supportive as they could, but you know, they had to move it on their own. And we all became great, great friends and had a lot of fun supporting Frontier Days. After that time, I was invited to join PEO Chapter Z. And that was just a joy to me. Jim said, you seem to really, really like being involved in that group. And I said, well, how can you not enjoy being part of a group where you can't do anything wrong? The Wheels also invited me shortly thereafter to be part of their group. And the Wheels are the group of women that provide the riders for the Frontier Days wagons in the parade. We maintain the costumes before and after they're distributed to our riders. And I'm very proud of the collection of costumes that we have and the number of people that we've gotten to meet and enjoy riding in the parade and being smack in the middle of Frontier Days. When President Bush came to Cheyenne, Bill Beeman was coordinating that effort. And he asked me to be the coordinator of the presidential staff office here in Cheyenne. Well, those young staffers thought they were pretty hot stuff. And they had me pretty well pegged to be a sweet little soccer mom that knew how to answer the phone and run the fax machine. Well, one day they came grousing into the office. The rancher out west of town had been pretty upset with him for driving over his prairie and leaving the gates open. And they couldn't understand what, you know, with all that countryside out there, what was the big deal? Well, I'd had just enough time at the ranch and learning about ranch life that I just couldn't quite take that attitude. So I bawled them out and said, you've got to realize this prairie is the food for those cattle, and it'll take 5 years in Wyoming for that grass to grow back. And if you leave those gates open, they'll have cattle all over the countryside, and it does not make for good neighbors when your cattle is hither and yon. Well, they still shrugged their shoulder at me. The next day, a friend of ours that we had met at Warren Air Force Base, he was a very kind, quiet, pleasant colonel at the time that we got to spend a dinner evening with them. And we enjoyed their company a lot. Well, he came walking in the office. At this point, he was living in Washington, D.C., and he was a 3-star general. He looked at me and said, Peggy. I looked at him and said, John. It's sort of like, soap opera. And with that, he swooped me down and gave me a Clark Gable kiss right in front of all of these presidential staff people. Well, I had a little more respect after that. And I just loved it.
That's a great story.
Oh, it was. It was a great
I
time.
was gonna ask what Jim thought about the Clark Gable kiss, but we won't go there today, so.
He's lived with that story for a long time.
I bet he is. So Jim, looking through your list of volunteers, it makes me wonder how you had time to actually work, to be honest. So these high-paying volunteer jobs that we heard about earlier, it's truly impressive. In many cases, you served as chairman or president from Cheyenne Leads, the Chamber of Commerce, to general chairman for Frontier Days. You've been volunteering for this community for nearly 50 years, which is just impressive. Why don't you highlight some of the things you've been involved with and what you are maybe most proud of?
Sure. First, if you'll let me backtrack just a little bit. and
Please.
Talk about those large clients, because I never mentioned those, but we really were fortunate to serve some rather large clients, and some of them I could mention because they are public companies. The state of Wyoming, the University of Wyoming, the Wyoming Department of Transportation, the Wyoming Business Council, the city of Cheyenne, and Laramie County Community College are some of the bigger ones. And we were very honored to be able to serve those, and proud that we could serve them with people from Wyoming and in Wyoming. And we also had a very large individual income tax practice as well, of about over 2,500 individual tax returns that we prepared each year. And those relationships, I think, really kept us connected and grounded to the community. But also, I'd like to backtrack and say, when we started, we had 9 male partners. There are now 2 of the original partners left. And along the way, we'd added 4 partners, but today there are 11 partners, 6 female partners and 5 male partners. So as we said, the transition would happen. As that time period went on and more women got involved in public accounting, it was going to happen. And I'm proud to say it did. And they've got some great female partners sitting there today. And I'm also very proud that they've continued on with the practice and growing it, and continued on with the great trust work that they were doing, and also entered the Fort Collins market, which I tried for years to be able to make that happen, and it never did, but they did. And congratulations. Well, to talk about some of the civic stuff, when I made manager, one of my first evaluations, one of the partners said, "You're not involved enough in the community. You need to do something about that." Well, I said, okay, we got family, we got career, we got all this other stuff going on, but I did take it to heart and got involved. And I think we're so darn fortunate to be in Cheyenne and be in Wyoming with the opportunities that we have to get involved. I mean, there's just opportunities everywhere if you look, and you can make a difference. I think we can make a whole lot more difference together than we can alone. Cheyenne Frontier Days was one of those that really taught me that situation. It's amazing when you have 11 committees and an executive director, and you're all working towards the same goal of producing a first-class Western celebration. I mean, the team effort was just incredible, and I don't think I'll ever experience that in the rest of my life. But it was just incredible. So I have very many fond memories of great committee men and their service and their dedication to Cheyenne Frontier Days. I have a whole lot of memories about Cheyenne Frontier Days, and many of them would be around the rodeo and the night shows and all of that good stuff. But I have to tell you a few of them that are maybe just a little bit unique. One of them is they had a McGladrey Partners meeting at Opryland Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. And there were over 400 and some of us there, and you would never even know we were there. That facility is that large and that big. But also inside that facility, they have a radio station. And another partner and I were walking by that radio station, and in there, they were doing an interview with Mel Tillis. Well, Mel was coming to Cheyenne Frontier Days that next year. So I pulled the Cheyenne Frontier Days business card out of my pocket, stuck it up to the window, and they invited us in. They said, "Come on in." So they finished the interview, and we got to sit around and talk to Mel Tillis for an hour or so. It was just great. He's an amazing guy. The stuttering is true, except when he sings. I've never heard him stutter when he sings at all, but what an amazing experience. I have a birthday that almost always falls during Cheyenne Frontier Days. Have you ever had a visit from Lady Godiva coming down the track horseback and greeting you in front of 10,000 of your best friends? Well, I did. And I'll guarantee you it was an experience. And one day I was coming to the grand entry and started looking around and I couldn't find my horse. And pretty soon I was informed that my steed for the day was a longhorn steer. So I ended up riding the grand entry on a longhorn steer. And my first year as general chairman, there were 3 of us, and we went to the Country Music Awards in Nashville, Tennessee, to look at the new talent, to look at the showcases, possibly book our own acts, and actually interview some new agents because we weren't getting the attendance that we thought we should be getting. The hotel we were staying at, of course, wasn't near the award ceremony, but the hotel had a limo, and they volunteered to take us over to the award show. Well, all 3 of us are dressed alike, as the committee does. And so they waved that limo right up to the front door. And so we got out of that limo, and all of a sudden people are saying, "Isn't that Western band? Aren't these country Western entertainers?" Flashing cameras, pointing fingers, and whispering, "I know them. Isn't that so-and-so?" So kind of a different time. And we were asked so many times who we were that finally one of the committeemen said, we're a new country band. And people kind of started catching on to that a little bit, but they pressed farther. Well, who are you? What's your name? And so they came up with the Cody, Sheridan, and the Wind River Band. And before the evening was over, we almost booked some engagements. But representing Cheyenne Frontier Days was an absolutely incredible experience. You don't understand the recognition and respect that Cheyenne has and Cheyenne Frontier Days has until you travel, and you travel with that group. But it's just amazing. And then after my term as general chairman, I was asked to chair the Cheyenne Frontier Days Western Art Show by Jerry Jessen, the following general chairman to me. And I ended up chairing that committee for 25 years. Worked with some outstanding committee people that really were dedicated again on putting on a first-class art show. And meeting those artists that came from around the country was also incredible. Different people. And I learned a lot about art, but I also learned what you like is what you like. And it's not what somebody says that you should like. We were able to raise a real significant amount of money for the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum. And also, I think it was a great opportunity to bring some wonderful, wonderful Western art to the city of Cheyenne and the community. Some of the bronzes around town were also a result of that effort. The buffalo at the Capitol, the park bench at the library, and the Pioneer Lady in front of the museum also came as a result of a lot of work of dedicated committee people. I served as an ex officio member of the board of the chamber when I was general chairman, because you see, back then, Cheyenne Frontier Days was a committee of the Chamber of Commerce. They weren't on their own. They were a separate committee of the chamber. So I had that opportunity to serve there. And then later on, I was elected to the board and served for 8 years and 1 year as chairman of the board. But it was an amazing experience to work with the chamber staff, Dale, all of those incredible board members over that 8-year period of time, and being able to promote the business interests of Cheyenne. And I think you can see the impact of that today with the number of people that are here. So congratulations to all of you for having a great organization. Some of the other ones I'll just mention were Leeds, Wyoming Travel Commission, Cheyenne Frontier Days Memorial Scholarship Foundation, Wyoming Board of CPAs, Visit Cheyenne, and Starbase Foundation. And there were a few others, but what incredible opportunities we have if we just take advantage of them.
So you both epitomize really what Wyoming represents, and I think that's why so many people are endeared by you. One thing I really appreciate about you both is your humble, people-centered perspective. I understand that you live by the motto, faith, family, and friends. So I know you believe deeply in family, and both of yours have been very successful. So why don't you just take a moment and brag a little bit about your family and introduce any that you might have here with us today.
Yeah, first I'd like to say my parents really did stress education and really wanted all of us to go to college. And being in Laramie afforded that opportunity and made it possible to happen. All of my brothers and sisters have at least one degree and their spouses from the University of Wyoming. So we bleed brown and gold. And we definitely support the Cowboys.
Well, thanks to MHP, who hosted a table for our family today. We have several family members with us. Jim's sister Cheryl and Vince are here. My brother Peter and Margaret are here. Brother to Jim, Gary, and our son Christopher and Gabrielle. We've had 3 children. Michelle was our first. She's married. She and Jeremy Lyon live in Fruita, Colorado. She's been a teacher for 25 years at the elementary level. Currently, she's a teacher mentor at Shellady Elementary School in Fruita. Jeremy is a professional environmental engineer and works with the Ute Water Conservancy. Nate, their son, is about 20 years old. He's a student at Mesa State University. His major is kinesiology, and he's on the MSU men's lacrosse team. He loves to fish in any spare time he can find, most any season of the year. Kayla, age 26, is their daughter. She is married to Josh Hobus. She's a preschool teacher with the Mesa County School District. And her husband, Josh, is working as an asbestos removal with an asbestos removal company. They have 2 children. So we have 2 great-grandchildren, red-haired and spicy 7-year-old Raya, and the smilingest kid ever, 1-year-old Riker. Chris, our son, is a doctor of physical therapy here in Cheyenne. He has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology from UW and a doctorate of physical therapy from the A.T. Still University in Mesa, Arizona. He's been practicing physical therapy for about 10 years and has recently become a partner with the Physical Therapy Center. He and Gabrielle have a 3-month-old daughter, Kenley. Gabrielle comes to Cheyenne from the Chicago area and is currently working at CRMC as a discharge planner in several areas of the hospital. I think we have another city girl gone country. We also had a middle son. His name was Kenny. He committed suicide about in 1995. And I bring this up for several reasons. First of all, Kenny was a vital part of our family. He loved his athletics and soccer, football, basketball from grade school through high school. Time at the ranch was enjoyed by each of our children. Kenny hid his heartache and depression for well over a year. We had very little idea that he was feeling the pain as deeply as he was. We kind of thought kids that were 19, 20 years old pretty much were challenged by school, adult decisions to make, and relationships to work through. We had no idea what was coming. My third reason for wanting to talk about this a little bit is that suicide for many years was an issue that people just didn't talk about. And at the time, that was pretty much the case. As a family, we were met head on with that situation. It would be our hope to help others deal with such a loss. It's a life-changing process. If by no other means, at least by example, we hope that we can show you that it is a survivable situation. At the time, we were shattered. We were concerned about what this might do to our own relationship, as well as our place in the community. We first made a commitment to each other, to hold on tightly to each other and our children, to be accepting, understanding, and supportive of each other's grieving process, and to pray to God for the strength to keep moving in a positive direction, to see growth and better understanding of our family and the world around us, and how to deal with this tragedy. The varying communities within Cheyenne that we had been part of, as well as all of our extended family members, came together to offer and extend their love and support to us. It was absolutely overwhelming. There were flowers and mass cards. There were calls and baskets of food. And this whole community just surrounded us with their love and their support. And we'll be forever grateful. Our prayers continue to be answered. We have truly appreciated the circle of life from this experience. At the time Kenny died, we'd had our first grandchild, and a couple of days earlier, and our Aunt Leona from the ranch was living at our home in the final stages of ovarian cancer. She passed away about 6 weeks later. We wanted to be able to promote the love and the lessons we had learned from those who had died, and at the same time, give all the love and nurturing to this new baby, her parents, and our young son. To those prayers, to date, those prayers continue to be answered. And I need to say thank you to every single one of you for the love and the support and the enjoyment of life that you've given to all of us.
Thank you for sharing that, Peggy. One of the things we know about living here and being here is how deeply connected we are as a community. And as I like to share, the people get in your blood, but it's at the times where we're the most challenged that they really step up. And so we appreciate you sharing that story. And I think it resembles the world, the community that we want to live in today. So thank you. I know we're running short of time. I want to do a couple of things first here. And this may seem a little bit odd for me to ask the employees of MHP to stand, especially since your competition is sponsoring the luncheon to do that. But we gave David his time. So MHP folks that are in the room, would you stand up and just wave so we can recognize you? We are truly blessed to have the level of professionalism in this industry, in this community right now. And in many ways, that's thanks to you. So as we wrap up, I know we could probably spend the entire day here talking and listening to the stories, but I do want to wrap up before we're out of time. And really want to give you as an opportunity to reflect upon maybe the past for Cheyenne, but more importantly, to share some advice or thoughts about the future of Cheyenne, of Laramie County, perhaps of Wyoming.
Sure. I think there's some real important things happening. Cheyenne is growing tremendously. We've got a lot of activity going on. We're very fortunate, I think, to be in that position right now. I know there's an awful lot of communities out there in the state of Wyoming that are very envious of the position Cheyenne is and the activity that's going on here. So, but I think there's also some things we need to do. We need to support the Air Force Base and the men and women who are serving our country. As Dale said, there's competition out there, and there's 3 bases, and we need to make sure that the higher ups know that we support that Air Force Base, and it means an awful lot to our economy. And also along with that is our National Guard and those members of the National Guard. We definitely need to maintain that support for them. I think the other important thing that's really gotten going and started in the last few years is Cheyenne being the northern anchor of the Front Range. And that really needs to continue on too. I think that's a really important relationship, especially with some of the things that are going on with rail and all of those things, to definitely be connected to that. I think we need to continue to work on developing and have adequate workforce and housing. Those couple of items have been mentioned, and I think they're big issues that need quite a bit of work and attention. And work on bringing back civility. I think that's really important. It seems like we've lost just an awful lot of civility in the last few years. And I'm not sure exactly how you do that, but I think the chamber can be a real impetus to bring back that civility. I don't always agree with some of my friends. I don't always agree with a lot of people, but we actually have a conversation and we have some respect for each other. And I think it's really important that we figure out a way to return to that. And continue like you've done to make Cheyenne a great place to live, work, play, and do business. That's, I think, vital to what we need to do.
Peggy, any last thoughts?
All I can say is that there is no excuse to be bored in this community. If you have an interest at all, pursue it, enjoy the people that go with it. It's good to be part of something that's bigger than you are. There is so much in our community and with our family, and because of our faith, we're grateful for. And we thank you all for being part of our lives.
I have a few points that I'd like to pass on to people, I guess, too. Because I've had a lot of time to kind of think about some of those things in the last few weeks, but surround yourself with good people. I've always had great people around me that have somehow figured out a way to make me look good. And you need to do that. You just need to have those good people around you for that support. I think it's really important to set your own core values and use them as a guide and live them every day. Don't have to be core values that somebody else has. They should be yours. And you should spend some time kind of thinking about those core values. And I think we should concentrate on character, competency, and commitment. If you had those 3 C's that we had in our firm, I think you're going to be successful. Set a good business culture that incorporates integrity, respect, trust, relationships, customer service, and fun. You need to have some fun along the way too. But I think you also have to have some discipline and some patience. I know if I hadn't had a little bit of discipline and patience along the way, I never would be where I am. I would have jumped ship, gone someplace else, done something different. But having a little bit of that patience and not knowing what was coming in the future, what was going to happen, also created great opportunities. So I wish you a tremendous amount of success. I'm glad to see all of the people here showing your voice and sharing your voice with the Chamber of Commerce, because I think it's really important for business in Cheyenne.
Peggy, Jim, it's been a privilege to share the stage with you today. It's an honor to be part of a community that you've helped shape. So ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please let's recognize our newest inductees into the Circle of Champions.
It is on. All right, well. All right, now we're on. First of all, thank you, Jim and Peggy. We greatly appreciate it. What an honor to be able to just hear about your history. Thank you so much. Before we go, real quick, I just wanted to make a kind of a point. One of our sponsors, High West Energy, actually CEO, Jared Ruth, are you here? Okay, he may have had to go back. Please get to know Jared Ruth. He's the new CEO of High West Energy. So please check that out. And again, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. 4 to 7 tonight here at the Expo. Please check that out. Also, don't forget about the economic luncheon on the 15th. Thank you very much.